Welcome to the Emerging Temple broadcast for October 10th, 2019. I am Michael Obeya. I will be your guide for the rest of this program. At Emerging Temple, we seek to analyze current events within the context of God's plan for mankind. His plan is to prepare some to rule with him in a government that he shall establish in due time. Before I go any further, I want to remind you once more to like our page, to share it with your family, and to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you see a bell icon at the bottom of your screen or a red box with the word subscribe, I'd like you to go ahead and hit that button there. And so you can get updates and alerts every time we upload new videos. Also, I would like you to go to patreon.com so you can get the opportunity to become one of our supporters and look for our handle, Emerging Temple, and become one of our supporters to be able to get our programs out, to more people. So thanks so much for those of you who are already doing so. I really appreciate it. This is helping us, provide you more content and to give you an analysis from a perspective that you will not find through the regular media. Okay, today, October 10th, what has come to me is the recent news that came out of Ghana, in which the government of Ghana had to step in and withdraw a new curriculum, a new training manual that was being given to all the school systems for children without the full knowledge of the government. This had somehow gone through the Ministry of Education, and it was about teaching young children about homosexuality, LGBT, and those sort of things that parents are actually supposed to be the ones to decide when and how to teach their children about that. The idea of education was to teach children how to read and write and geography, etc. We were under the impression that there were no more Bible lessons being taught in schools because it was a moral perspective and that you should learn that at home. But it's been flipped. Now the morals and values of other people are being imposed on the rest of us. And so what transpired in Ghana was that the government had to withdraw this curriculum because of the outrage, rightly so, expressed by the parents, and claimed that they knew nothing about it. What you have to remember, a lot of these countries are so dependent on the so-called IMF, United Nations, and all these really useless organizations, because you have to ask yourself, if you've been doing the same thing with an organization for 70 years and nothing gets better, things just get worse, okay? You've got to understand that maybe that thing isn't designed to work, okay? The United Nations is supposed to bring peace on earth, not to go around the world trying to drop down, push down the throat of people, the LGBT agenda, okay? Now, the question you have to ask yourself is this: is this LGBT and gay agenda trying to ram down the throat of all the children around the world? Is it just some social issue? Because even if you said that you granted that there was 1% of people in the world that had that disorder, okay? Even if you agreed that there was such a thing, up to 1%, well, how many voters are those? Okay, so obviously there's something else behind this. It's not about politics. It's not about elections. It's not about any of those things. There's something else behind it, friends. And I want to tell you what that is. There is an occultic power. An occultic power. There is some energy, some spiritual force that's able to influence the world by the release of these wicked deeds. And I'm going to share a few videos with you today. And while for the untrained eye, they will seem unconnected, but I will show you how they're all very connected. So let's take a look at this first clip. And this is a clip on what children are being taught in schools.
Did you know that some states require teaching that Francis Bacon and Emily Dickinson were gay? And now, New Jersey, Illinois, Colorado, California, Washington, and the District of Columbia have ordered that schools teach sexual orientation and gender in numerous classes. An upset New Jersey mother recently told the media, "When you teach about George Washington, you don't teach that George Washington had sex with his wife. We teach what George Washington did as a president." In Rockland County, California, a kindergarten teacher read a book called I Am Jazz to her students, an autobiographical picture book about a transgender child. One line in the book reads, "I have a girl brain, but a boy body." A parent reported to CBS News that after hearing the book, her child came home crying, confused and afraid that they could turn into the opposite sex without knowing it. Many parents, including some with kids who identify as transgender, don't want schools deciding what and when their children are taught about sexuality. But those that are speaking out against this new curriculum are being called bigots by LGBT activists. What these activists aren't teaching students and parents are the facts about the irreversible path of gender transition. Jazz Jennings, the author of I Am Jazz, started taking puberty blockers at age 11. Eventually, he took cross-sex hormones and underwent a painful gender confirmation surgery due to complications. Students won't be told that hormones can lead to impaired cognitive ability, greater risk of cancer, and sterility. And 80 to 95% of gender dysphoric children who go through puberty eventually become comfortable with their natural bodies. Parents in 10 other states have succeeded in putting limits on this curriculum. But the Equality Act, proposed by liberals in Congress, would erase those protections. Children are loved, nurtured, and raised by their parents, not the state. Congress should not be misled. Treating students and their parents with dignity and respect means allowing them to learn and live according to their own beliefs about sexual matters. Codifying LGBT ideology into a civil right would take away fundamental freedoms from those who don't conform. That's not equality, it's injustice.
Wow. Now, you look at this and you think this is just some harmless policy. Why are they looking for the children? Why is it the children? I want to explain something to you must understand about blood. The younger you are, the more powerful your blood is in the world of the occult. So the abuse of children is not just some mental problem that some people have. It's a rational occultic program to use and to draw the energy of children for whatever the agenda is behind these movements. I'm going to show you something now. And this is what occurred in Nigeria about 4 or 5 years ago, when an American administration wanted the government to ensure that the LGBT agenda was part of the program of the country. And when the government said, look, 99% of our people are against this, we wouldn't last one day in government if we went with this program. The Obama administration, Barack Obama, the so-called first Black president, was the one who decided that they would do whatever they could to get that government out, even if it meant the loss of lives of innocent children. And we're going to see, and this group called Boko Haram comes and it kills. Boko Haram means book is haram. That means education is haram. That's ridiculous, because the very numbers you and I use to do mathematics is in Arabic, okay, which brought Islam. So these people have some warped ideas of what they want, and somehow or another, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton felt that these guys were the good guys and the government of Nigeria were the bad guys. Don't just take my word for it. Let's listen to what a congressman says the United States military said about the American government to him, okay?
As I stated earlier, I'm part of the Foreign Affairs Committee, and we frequently travel to the countries that we work with. And one of those countries, I went with 3 other Democrat colleagues. I was the only Republican colleague to go. And we started asking questions, or rather I did, about the inefficiencies in the help that America's giving to Nigeria. And upon further discussion, first with the military, we were set aside in a separate room, and the American military was working with the Nigerian military, but the American military asked for a private meeting outside the realm of the State Department. And there the leaders, generals, or whatever their rank and title were, told us specifically that they wanted to give intelligence to the Nigerians for the ability to take on Boko Haram, because, as you know, the United States has the ability with their satellites, obviously.
Now, listen to what the congressman is saying. He said, Congress sent a delegation to Nigeria, and while they were there, Congress had meetings with the State Department officials in Nigeria, American State Department officials, the ambassador, etc., and also with the United States military people who were supposedly there to be helping the Nigerian military to destroy Boko Haram. And after his meeting with the State Department people, the United States military people called him aside and other Congress people and said, sirs, we need to talk to you separately. We don't need the State Department people to hear what we're about to tell you. Okay? Now listen to what they tell him.
NSA and other means to track terrorist groups. And he was asking for permission to do this, but was saying our policy at the administration level, the Obama administration level, was blocking any help for Jonathan Goodluck, who's the current president of Nigeria. And it was deeply disturbing to me. And on the way out, obviously the State Department knew that was going to be discussed. And they said, no, don't believe what he said. He's just saying that trying to impress you, which is absurd. People don't make those statements. Then later, in a private meeting in a house with some other government officials, I believe it was USAID and State Department officials, they came out and said that they didn't believe Boko Haram was an Islamist group, but they thought they were mimicking what they saw on the internet. But they were very concerned about the...
USAID told Congress at that time that they didn't believe Boko Haram was a terrorist group. Now, Boko Haram, those are the people in the picture background there, where you see that's one of their leaders there talking to a camera. You know, this foolish, stupid movies that they make, you know, with tanks behind them and all that kind of thing. Nobody even knows, what's really going on. No, these guys you're looking at are not the bad guy. The Nigerian government, we didn't want to allow the gay agenda, the LGBT agenda. Those were the bad guys. Now, just keep your eye on what's going on in the background. Keep your eye on these terrorists in the background and while you're listening to this man speaking, okay?
Policies of Jonathan Goodluck, and that is quote, oppression of human rights, which is ironic because he never kidnapped 200 girls. He never chopped off any heads. He quite frankly, has not done anything close or remotely to that. And yet the policies, the President of the United States policy is so...
Do you all remember this Bring Back Our Girls? When Boko Haram kidnapped all those girls and Michelle Obama and everybody and all the entertainers were all holding these signs, Bring Back Our Girls worldwide. And who were they telling Bring Back Our Girls? They weren't telling Boko Haram Bring Back Our Girls. They were telling the government of Nigeria whom they had refused to help. You have to ask yourselves, people, come on, wake up. What is going on? You believers have stuck your head in the sand, but it's right in front of you. It's going on right in front of you. And you tell yourself, oh, it's politics. No, we're talking about lives here, okay? Every single life of every child, of every human being is precious to God, okay? It's precious to God. You just can't stick your head in the sand and just stay there and just keep letting these things go on. Let's just finish this.
Skewed that they're so blindsided, you know, they talk about horses having blinders on that they don't see what's on either side of them, what's going on. they're so blindsided and so dedicated to the agenda, which is, you know, as we all know, is pro-homosexual and pro-gay marriage, and that they're willing to, in my opinion, sacrifice and risk the lives of young girls and boys who have been murdered, kidnapped, and butchered. They always skew or try to skew it by saying, well, we're helping these three countries.
Look at these people, these bodies you see on the ground here. These bodies you're looking at, these are high school students that were killed by Boko Haram. These were boys. They were killed before the girls were kidnapped. Okay? About 80 boys were killed on 2 separate occasions while they were asleep in boarding school. Why? Because they were going to school. Okay? Now, what rational human being goes to kill innocent children in school to prove a point? This is sacrifice. This is not killing. What you're looking at is human sacrifice. And you're too blind to see it. Okay? These are expendable lives for energy. Somebody's using that energy.
But if you specifically ask, are you helping Nigeria in the way in everything they requested, they will divert their answer and obfuscate and try to cloud the water, when in fact the answer is quite clear. The general was very adamant about this. He could give intelligence that would help crush the radical Islamic group Boko Haram, which, in translation, loosely translates no Western education, meaning no reading, nothing like that. They want to go back to 600 AD.
While this was going on,
so the policy on paper seems benign, but in reality, what's carried out through these policies means that the continued killing of young children and kids. It's horrific. We were given a briefing by some of the girls that escaped from the clutches of Boko Haram, and one of the girls.
This is too horrible. I'm not going to keep showing you guys this. This is too horrible. Friends, remember, we saw the first clip where they were trying to teach children about the whole LGBT agenda. Over here, we see where the congressman is telling you that the United States military said, look, we have intelligence to help the Nigerian military take these Boko Haram guys out, but our State Department is stopping us from helping the Nigerian military because the Nigerian government is not enforcing gay agenda and LGBT training in schools, etc. Okay? Just think about that. Okay? Think about that. And you tell me why we as believers should not be discussing this. Okay? We should, why we shouldn't be discussing, why? Okay? Now, look at this.
Hide your don't let me know who did it.
Betty Bassar has lived east of Fletcher for over 40 years and says she's never seen anything this gruesome.
But somebody had to have tranquilized her and then give her a shot of that stuff to colligate your blood, because there was no bullet holes, no nothing.
Comanche County Sheriff Kenny Stradley says they've investigated similar cases, but none of this magnitude in several years. Bassar says she has an idea of what would lead someone to do this.
They was getting ready to make a sacrifice, I think, to the devil over that red moon. Anytime you get a bad change in the moon like that, you'll see this stuff come up.
The Sheriff's Department doesn't have any leads at the time, and it's unlikely they'll get any unless the public steps up with information.
Not unless you catch them actually doing it, or you was to stop a car going down the road and they have the parts of the calf or the organs or anything like that in their car.
And as for other farmers and ranchers, Bassar had only one thing to say.
Just keep your eyes and ears open, boys.
Friends, look, you wonder, okay, what's the connection? The connection is blood. The blood of those animals. And this is not what I just showed you. You can go research this. This is going on all over the world right now as we speak. Okay? And the blood of those animals is drained out of them completely, but there is no cut. There is no knife mark. There's no nothing. It's not like they use some kind of huge syringe or whatever, they'll be marked. What's happening to the blood? Something is accessing the blood of these animals without having to cut them. That title there, mutilated, is wrong. There was nothing. Nothing was mutilated. The blood of those animals just disappeared. This same thing happened a couple of weeks ago. This is October 10, 2019. This same thing happened like 2 or 3 weeks ago, somewhere in Western Nigeria. Okay? This is going on in England. This is going on in all over the world, in Asia. This is what we just saw was what happened in America. Okay? Friends, there is a power. The Antichrist is using this power to control the world. And he wants to stop our message from getting out. That's why after you watch this video, you won't share it with anybody. That's why you won't subscribe to our page. That's why you probably won't even support us. But you have received the word. You have received the truth. Okay? You come up with another explanation of why this is going on. Okay? Now, last clip I want to share with us is on a man called Jeffrey Epstein. Listen. Now, this man has been for years running a pedophile ring where very powerful people in the world, and they've been named, you can go find their names. I'm not going to want to put out any names here because there's no...
breaking stories tonight. First, multimillionaire Jeffrey Epstein is found injured in his Manhattan jail cell while being held on federal sex trafficking charges. Good evening at 11. I'm Stephen Hall.
And I'm Natalie Pascarella. A startling new twist in a case making headlines worldwide. There are questions tonight whether accused pedophile Jeffrey Epstein was attacked in his cell or tried to kill himself.
Still trying. To clear that up tonight, Chief Investigative Reporter Jonathan Dean joining us live in the newsroom with the breaking details. Jonathan, what do you know?
Well, we know that Jeffrey Epstein is safe. Epstein is safe back inside a cell tonight on suicide watch. That, according to several sources, and questions are swirling. Did he try to hurt himself, or what really happened inside the Metropolitan Correctional Center? Details sketchy at this hour, with investigators now trying to get answers. Several sources tell us the initial report is that Jeffrey Epstein was found on the floor in his cell in a fetal position, semi-conscious with marks to his neck. Investigators are trying to determine what happened to Epstein inside the Metropolitan Correctional Center in one of the secure areas of...
This Epstein guy is a billionaire, or supposedly so, a friend of very powerful men around the world, and has this island somewhere in the Caribbean and also in Arizona, where very powerful men come, apparently to have sex with underage children. But we don't know what else is going on there. We know that this man also had a lab in which he planned to breed children. I mean, it's all in the congressional record. It's not congressional, in the court record, okay? If you want to find out about this, you can find out about it. Go look up Jeffrey Epstein, okay? E-P-S-T-E-I-N. Go look him up. The story here was that he tried to kill himself but failed. But they were not sure if he tried to kill himself or whether some other prisoner tried to kill him. 2 weeks later, he was found hung in his cell, that he had hung himself. Okay? Now, among the names that he's mentioned are royalty, politicians, billionaires, okay? And this man actually didn't even have to be arrested. He came into the United States on his own a few weeks before he was arrested, while he had been away for years. What made him come back? Okay, let's finish this.
Of the jail. Two sources say Epstein may have tried to hang himself. A third source cautioned Epstein's injuries were not serious and questioned if Epstein might be seeking some kind of transfer. This, as a fourth source says, an assault has not been ruled out. That another man in the same area was questioned. Epstein was ordered held without bail since his arrest on the sex trafficking charges. He had asked to be housed in his Upper East Side mansion with an ankle bracelet and private guards. But the judge said he was a risk of flight and a danger given the allegations he sexually abused underage girls. He has pleaded not guilty. Epstein had been housed with a former cop and accused killer. An attorney for that inmate says his client did not attack Epstein, that the two get along, and that Epstein was seen today and appears to be fine. Epstein's lawyer did not return a call for comment as the investigation very much underway at the MCC. In the newsroom, Jonathan Dienst, News 4.
Okay, Jonathan, talking to sources tonight. We've also learned tonight the parent company of Victoria's Secret, L Brands, has launched an internal investigation involving Epstein. NBC News reporting that Epstein has ties to company founder Leslie Wexner and has been identified as a money manager of Wexner. Wexner says he stopped working with Epstein after allegations of sex abuse were made in the late 2000s. There have been recent reports that Epstein promised women jobs at Victoria's Secret. Those reports have not been confirmed by NBC News. The company released this statement saying, in part, while Mr. Epstein served as Mr. Wexner's personal money manager for a period that ended near...
Friends, you see a connection between pedophilia and the gay agenda. Do you know that one of the new platforms or ideas of the gay agenda is pedophilia? That now they're saying that some people are born that way. That means when your child is abused, you just have to understand that that person who abused your child sexually was born that way. Where is this going to stop? When are you going to actually put your foot down and say enough is enough? Okay? So many of you don't want to come out and speak the way I'm speaking because you want to keep your job. Well, I'd love to keep my job too. You want to have more friends. You want to be accepted. I want to have more friends. I want to be accepted too. But you want to know what? I want to have peace with God. I want to have peace with God. That's why we're doing what we're doing. That's why we're exposing what we're exposing. Let's see what God says about your child, okay? And what obligations you have to your child. This is found in the book of Leviticus, chapter 18 and verse 21. It says, "And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Moloch, neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord." What does it mean? Do not let your seed, your children, your child, pass through the fire. Do you know that the educational system that you put your children through is the fire? That when you send them out there to these schools, by the time they come back to you, you don't even know who they are. They don't even know who you are. They're thinking differently. They're talking differently, not in a positive way. Their whole morals, their whole values are changed. And how many of you actually come together and say, you know what, we don't want this. We don't put our children there. But because of your interest and desire for wealth and money, you take your number one responsibility, your most important asset, and you give to strangers you don't know from anywhere. And they tell you what they're going to teach your children, okay? You have to tell them before you come there. They say, well, you know, just leave the children with us for 8-9 hours every day, okay? We'll take care of them. They even have a law saying you have to take your children to them. And if you don't take your children to them, they'll tell you that you have child abuse. You're engaging in child abuse. Mothers especially, I want to speak to you, young mothers. If you cannot afford to take your child to a Christian school, to a private school where you have control of what your children are being taught, look, stay home and teach your child yourself. There's no other way. There's no other way to sugarcoat this. Stay home and teach your child yourself. Let me show you something. This is what the word of God says, book of Proverbs, chapter 22, verse 6. It says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Are you the one training your child? Are you the one training your child, or is someone else training your child for you? And what you're seeing out of your child, the kind of language your child is using. Is your child going through depression? Do you know how those children get treated by other children in those places? You put all the right values in your child, then you take the child and go dump someplace. Okay? God is going to hold you accountable because you're without excuse for what you're doing to the children. Many of you out there, your mother stayed home to take care of you, but you're there trying to build your career, trying to get to the top, and you've contracted out the raising of your children to people who don't know God. And you come crying and saying, oh, my child is this, what happened to my child? You are a co-conspirator in the destruction of your child, because God has told you, train up the child in the way they should go. Then on Sunday morning, you take the child to some church and sit the child there, and the poor child just has to sit down there for 3-4 hours, okay? Going through the motions with you. Always contracting out your responsibility to someone else. You ought to be teaching your child. If you don't know math, you don't know science, I understand that. Get people who do. Work out something. So there's something you can teach a child. There's something another parent knows. Another parent knows science. Another parent knows math. You all come together. You train your children. You teach your children at home. It's your right. Okay? Isn't it funny that the children in America who always score the highest in American educational thing every year, always the homeschool children? How's that so? Well, friends, I'm hoping that I have been able to get you to look at this aspect of what is going on with our children around the world, and to motivate you to begin with your own home, to look at your children, see what's going on with them, and to get involved in their education. Okay? Maybe they're going to a school now that you have access to and you can actually determine what they're being taught, and you're sure about that, fine, that's good. But if your children are going to school where you have no control of what they're being taught, and they're being taught that these sort of lifestyles are acceptable, you're giving their souls to the devil. And you need to pull them out of there ASAP. No ifs, ands, or buts. You need to do it now. Okay? You need to do it now. Thank you very much for your time. I'm grateful for you listening to me. But I was really agitated today, and I really felt that I had to get this message across. I want to encourage you once more, subscribe to our channel. Okay, support us, go to patreon.com, share our videos, share this video with people, okay? Sit down with your friends and watch it and analyze what we're saying, okay? And debate it, all right? So thank you very much. Remember, every Monday through Friday, we upload new videos, okay? So you can search for us, Emerging Temple at YouTube. Just go to Emerging Temple at YouTube, and you should be able to find us, okay? Thank you so much for your time. Speak to you tomorrow.